Have you ever faced a moment when the need before you seemed impossibly huge and the resources in your hands felt painfully small? Imagine standing in front of thousands of hungry faces, all looking to you for hope, and realizing you have almost nothing to offer. What would you do? This is the incredible story of the day Jesus fed more than 5,000 people with nothing, more than 5 loaves of bread and 2 small fish. The sun hung high over the Sea of Galilee, shimmering across the water like a field of diamonds. The air was warm, the kind that makes the dust cling to your sandals, and the breeze off the lake feel like relief on your skin. People were everywhere, men, women, children, families, crowds, so thick you could barely move without brushing against another's shoulder. Word had spread like wildfire. Jesus, the great teacher, the healer, the miracle worker, was here. From every nearby town and village they came. Farmers left their fields. Fishermen left their nets. Mothers carried their little ones, eager for their children to hear his words. Sick people were carried by friends on mats, desperate for healing. No one wanted to miss what this man might say or what he might do. All morning Jesus spoke to them. His voice carried over the crowd, rich and strong, yet gentle, each word sinking deep into hungry hearts. He spoke of God's kingdom, not a kingdom of palaces and armies, but one of forgiveness, mercy, and love. His words stirred something inside the people, something they had been longing for, hope. But as the hours passed, another hunger began to rise, the gnawing hunger of empty stomachs. Children tugged at their mothers' sleeves. Fathers whispered anxiously. The nearest town was miles away, and already the day was fading toward evening. The crowd had grown to thousands, 5,000 men alone, not even counting women and children. Easily over 10,000 souls in one place. The disciples began to worry. They pushed through the crowds until they found Jesus. "Master," one of them said, "it's getting late. These people need food. Send them away to the nearby villages so they can buy something to eat." But Jesus looked at his disciples with a calm, piercing gaze, and he said something that must have shocked them. "You give them something to eat." The disciples froze. Their eyes darted across the crowd, scanning the sea of faces, thousands, hungry, expectant. One of them, Philip, finally blurted out, "Lord, even if we had 200 days' wages, it wouldn't be enough to buy bread for everyone here." The others nodded, their faces tight with frustration. What Jesus was asking was impossible. But then another disciple, Andrew, spoke up. He tugged gently at the sleeve of a young boy standing nearby. "Here is a boy," Andrew said, almost apologetically, "who has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. But what is that for so many?" The boy's basket was simple, woven from reeds. Inside lay the loaf, rough, round pieces of barley bread, the food of the poor, and 2 fish, small and dried, hardly more than snacks. Compared to the need, it was laughable, insignificant, like trying to quench a forest fire with a teacup of water. But Jesus' eyes lit up. He did not see the smallness. He saw the seed of a miracle. He told the disciples, "Have the people sit down." The command rippled through the crowd. "Sit down, he says to sit down." Families lowered themselves onto the grass, the murmurs of confusion filling the air. Row after row, thousands upon thousands, seated across the hillside in neat groups of 50 and 100, like fields waiting for harvest. Jesus took the bread, he lifted his eyes to heaven, and he gave thanks. The disciples leaned in, watching. The boy clutched his empty basket, wide-eyed. And then Jesus broke the bread. He tore it in his hands and handed pieces to the disciples. Then more, and more, and still more. The bread did not run out. The fish multiplied in their hands. Every time they gave, there was more to give. The disciples carried the food into the crowd. They handed it to the first family, who looked at the portion in disbelief. But then they ate, and their hunger melted into joy. The disciples moved to the next group, and the next, passing out bread, breaking fish, filling hands, filling mouths, filling hearts. The miracle spread like fire in the wind. Thousands of people were eating until they were full. Not just a taste, not just a crumb, but as much as they wanted. Children giggled, crumbs sticking to their cheeks. Old men chewed slowly, tears welling in their eyes. Mothers held out food to their little ones, astonished that there was no end to the supply. And the boy who had offered his tiny lunch watched in wonder. His small gift, placed in the hands of Jesus, was feeding a multitude. Hours later, as the sun dipped low and the sky blazed orange and gold, the people leaned back in the grass, satisfied. Their hunger was gone, replaced with awe. They whispered to one another, "Surely this is the prophet who has come into the world." But Jesus was not finished. He told his disciples, "Gather the leftovers. Let nothing be wasted." And so they went, carrying large baskets through the crowd. People handed back pieces of bread and fish they could not finish. The disciples piled it high, counting as they went. 1 basket, 2, 3, all the way to 12 baskets full. 12 baskets overflowing with more than what they had begun with, a miracle beyond measure. The disciples stood in silence, holding the evidence in their hands. Bread and fish, more than enough, when moments ago they had nothing. And deep inside, they began to realize the truth. With Jesus, lack is never the end. With him, what little you have becomes more than enough. This story isn't just about bread. It isn't just about fish. It is about the God who takes the smallest offering, 5 loaves, 2 fish, even the fragile faith of a child, and multiplies it into something miraculous. Think about your own life. How many times have you looked at what you have, your time, your talent, your money, your strength, and thought it's not enough? How many times have you faced needs bigger than your resources, problems too great for your hands to solve? This story is God's answer. It tells us that when we place what little we have into the hands of Jesus, he can multiply it beyond anything we can imagine. He can turn scarcity into abundance. He can turn weakness into strength. He can turn a boy's small lunch into a feast for thousands. The crowd that day went home not only with full stomachs, but with hearts overflowing. They had seen with their own eyes that God's kingdom is not about lack, but about abundance. Not about fear, but about trust. Not about holding tightly to what you have, but about releasing it into the hands of the one who can do immeasurably more. So the question comes to us now, what small thing are you holding back? What gift, what talent, what resource are you afraid is too small to matter? The story of the loaves and fish is God's gentle reminder, put it in his hands and watch it multiply. Because in the end, it's not about the size of your gift. It's about the greatness of the one you give it to. So now I ask you, what would you have done in this moment? Would you have trusted Jesus with your little? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And if this story moved you, Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful Bible stories and share this video with someone who needs encouragement today.